now I'm hot, they all on me. Back then they didn't want me, now I'm hot, they all on me. Back then,
when they gon' catch me riding dirty, tryna 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 catch me riding dirty.
Sideways, boys in the days. Sideways, boys in the days. Sideways, boys in the days.
The hip-hop world woke up to a heavy headline. Michael 5,000 Watts is gone. For some people, that name might not immediately register the same way as a chart-topping rapper or global superstar. But for anyone who truly understands Southern hip-hop, Houston culture, and the foundation of the mixtape era, this loss cuts deep. Michael Watts wasn't just a DJ. He wasn't just a producer. He wasn't just a label owner. He was a cultural architect, a builder, a gatekeeper, a bridge between raw street talent and real opportunity. When news of his passing began circulating, tributes poured in from artists, DJs, producers, and fans across generations. Social media filled with old mixtape covers, photos of car trunks packed with tapes, and stories from people who said the same thing in different ways. Without Watts, Houston would not sound the way it does. That kind of response doesn't come from hype, it comes from impact. Michael Watts changed lives quietly, behind the scenes, one artist at a time, one mixtape at a time, one neighborhood at a time, before streaming, before social media, before playlists, before algorithms decided who deserved to be heard. There was Michael Watts, curating sound, breaking records, slowing music down, chopping it up, reimagining what hip-hop could feel like. He helped shape a sound that became synonymous with Houston itself. A sound that traveled far beyond Texas, a sound that influenced artists, producers, and entire regions. When you lose someone like that, you don't just lose a person, you lose a piece of history. This series isn't just about death, it's about origin, it's about impact, it's about how one man helped give a city its voice, and it's about why Michael 5,000 Watts' legacy will never fade. Michael Watts' story did not start with fame. It did not start with money. It did not start with industry connections. It started with curiosity and a deep obsession with sound. Growing up in Houston, Michael Watts became fascinated with music at an early age, not just listening to songs, but studying them. He paid attention to how records were structured, how drums hit, how bass moved people, how certain songs made crowds react differently than others. He learned early that being a DJ wasn't just about pressing play, it was about reading people. It was about timing. It was about controlling energy. Watts began DJing school dances, neighborhood parties, and small local events. He carried his own equipment, set it up himself, broke it down himself, no entourage, no shortcuts, no handouts, just repetition, night after night. While others were focused on being seen, Watts was focused on getting better. He started experimenting with slowing records down, pitch-shifting vocals, repeating hooks, chopping verses into pieces and rearranging them. At first it was simple experimentation, but the sound felt different, heavier, darker, more hypnotic, more emotional. People noticed. They kept asking for those versions. They wanted tapes of those slowed, chopped records. Without realizing it at the time, Michael Watts was building something entirely new, a sound that didn't exist in any official category, a sound that reflected Houston's pace, its heat, its long nights, its cruising culture. This was the early foundation of what the world would later call chopped and screwed. Before it had a name, before it had a market, before it had a lane, Michael Watts was already creating it. Not because it was trendy, not because it was profitable, but because it felt right. That dedication to feeling over fashion would become one of the defining traits of his entire career. And it all started in Houston, with a young DJ, a turntable, and a vision. Swishahouse wasn't just a brand. It was a launching pad, a proving ground, a place where raw talent turned into real careers. Over time, Michael Watts' ecosystem produced some of the most important names in Southern hip-hop. Artists who would later become national stars first built their foundations on Swishahouse tapes. Names like Slim Thug, Paul Wall, Mike Jones, Shamillionaire, Lil Keke, Zero. Before radio spins, before major label deals, before platinum plaques, they were grinding on mixtapes. They were building fan bases one listener at a time. Watts gave these artists something priceless, exposure, consistency, and belief. He didn't just throw songs on tapes. He curated records. He placed artists next to other strong performers. He made sure their voices were heard in the right context. That matters because placement builds perception and perception builds careers. Many of these artists have publicly said that Watts gave them their first real momentum, their first real audience, their first real shot. But what made Swishahouse special wasn't just star power, it was depth. Beyond the household names, there were dozens of regional artists who helped shape Houston's sound. Big Mo, Big Pokey, HAWK, Young Red, Archie Lee. Artists who may not always be mentioned in mainstream conversations, but whose influence is deeply felt in Houston culture. Watts didn't treat artists like disposable products. He didn't chase quick hits. He focused on development. He understood that greatness takes time. He allowed artists to grow, to find their voices, to sharpen their skills, to make mistakes. That patience is rare in the music industry, and it's one of the biggest reasons Swishahouse produced so many lasting careers. Michael Watts didn't just break artists, he built artists, and in doing so, he helped shape an entire generation of Southern hip-hop.